You know what? There are so many questions that I need answers to. Like, what exactly did Emma do to that baby? Where did she disappear to? What is Apollo's mother hiding? Who took the pictures and sent them? And if it wasn't their baby and something else, then where is their baby? I cannot wait until we find out. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss The Changeling. Now this is a brand new series available on Apple TV and it stars Lakeith Stanfield. Now before we get into all things, what is Apollo's dad saying in that hallway when that blue smoke starts to come out of his mouth? The people want to know. I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that. Then we're going to come back and discuss. I am not at all surprised that this show is good and I'm enjoying it. First of all, we Black. Then it's horror fantasy. At this point, anything Lakeith decides to attach his name to is always up to par. I'm always here for it.
Go back.
Now, getting into this series, it is based on a book of the same name by Victor LaValle. I really thought that it was an excellent choice that not only did he write the book, but he is also doing all of the narration on the show. That was created by Kelly Marcel, who is mostly known for writing 50 Shades of Grey and all 3 of the Venom movies. No splice to any of those, but this is definitely her coming out. So far, the show has been incredible from a writing, directing, and visual standpoint. And don't even get me started on the score and the soundtrack for this show. Y'all had me at Delphonics. Hey love, turn your head round, turn your head round. Then you get the mini Ripperton. Will a lady pin me in her head? Not the ode to the flower, let's flow. And then y'all play some Tribe Called Quest, Stir It Up. Linden Boulevard, represent, sent Tribe Called Quest, represent, when the mic is in my hand, I'm never hesitant. My favorite jam back in the day was Eric B for president. Y'all already know I was outside for that. Now in episode 1, First Comes Love, we meet the soon-to-be happily married couple, Emma and Apollo. Now Apollo is a book enthusiast and dealer, and Emma is a librarian. Right away, Apollo is automatically in love and smitten with her. Meanwhile, Emma is not interested, moving to Brazil soon and wanting to keep her options open. However, Apollo is hella persistent and won't take no for an answer, showing up to her job multiple times, continuing to ask her out until she does. I really appreciate shows that pay a lot of attention to detail for those of us who look for those type of things, like the fact that Apollo is in the book section and we see books like A Stranger Among Us, The Other Islands of New York, Tales Before Token, books that deal in things like discovery, the unknown, folklore, fairy tales, fantasy, new age, spirituality, possession, inequality, exploration, foreign concepts. Every single book that I have seen featured in the series so far, and I'm speaking on this like I'm a reader, child. I am nobody's reader enthusiast, but the concept and the themes tie back into the series in some way. Oh, just great. There's also this really big thread of faith and kismet when it comes to Emma and Apollo's relationship, with just how much they have in common. He just so happens to be a book dealer and she just so happens to be a librarian. It's very innocent and sweet, while at the same time horrifying. Just maybe thinking about the extent of how far the rabbit hole goes and why Apollo and Emma have so much in common with Apollo's parents, Brian and Lillian. often doing and saying the same things even though they are decades removed from each other, child. Now, I don't know who is going to be persistent enough to be Brian and wait for Lillian to go out on one date for almost a decade, but here we are. Now, even though it doesn't take Emma quite that long to accept Apollo's invitation, we do have to sit through them going on dates and regurgitating the same things, like the fact that Apollo wants so badly to be a good father because he never had one. Meanwhile, our father-to-be Brian is saying the exact same thing to our mother in 1968. Both dating, happy, and taken with the woman that is currently in their presence. And then things come full circle when you learn about Lillian's, Emma, Brian, and Apollo's backstory with their own parents. Every single one of them in some way, shape, or form have some past life trauma that is filled with maybe abuse, sadness, death, or tragedy. With the parallels of their relationship matching so heavily regardless of the decade, when you find out that Apollo's father, Brian, who eventually marries, lives with, and impregnates Lillian with Apollo, leaves when he is 4 years old and is never to be seen again. Only appears to Apollo in his nightmares, roaring like a lion instead of speaking like a human, with this blue smoke forming from his mouth from underneath doors. It was real eerie. It was very, very eerie. But if so much of their love stories coincide with the other, just how far does that go? What exactly did Brian do when he, whisked in to grab Apollo and say, no matter what, you're coming with me? What occurred for Brian to completely disappear off the face of the earth? Not much unlike Emma in episode 3. Did he kind of start to become Emma? Did he try to harm Apollo? These are the things that people want to know. Even when we get into the book that he eventually reads to Apollo, To the Waters and the Wild is filled with folklore-themed fantasy, fairies who have dark intentions. And then you get into the actual definition of a changeling, a fairy that has been left in place of a human baby that is stolen to be of some use by other fairies. Meanwhile, this current fake fairy baby is often filled with evil and malicious intent. Brian, who we never saw again, went out of his way to ensure that he left that particular book to his son. Something ain't right. Now, Lakeith here as Apollo the god. I am the god Apollo. He says that so many times in the episodes that we have seen so far. I feel like it's going to hold a whole lot of weight as far as what he's going to need to endure and be capable of, and that mission to save Emma. But even just discussing Lakeith and what he is doing with this role, I adore him so much as an actor. So much range, never playing two characters the same. Apollo here has so much depth. He's very lively and animated, passionate in the way that he speaks, while at the same time being adventurous, quiet, endearing, honest. There's this deep sense of abandonment, which we know comes along with Brian never to be seen again, but there is this need to instantly and desperately connect with Emma. When he meets her, he just comes off as just being so lonely, and this isolation, never really making any deep bonds or connections beyond his mother. We have a friend, Patrice. We have a friend who is interested in books also, but we don't see him have a whole ton of human interaction, not with just him finding himself in the world of books. He is kind of shunned and made to feel indifferent. You see him book hunting all the time or trying to purchase, and with him being a black man, just presenting as non-threatening, as if that would matter at all, but he is kind of giving the side eye, and he takes it as a joke that even though I am who I am, I'm always going to be perceived a certain way. I love the little moment where he is looking at the books and he's like, oh, they look good enough to steal, because you think I'm going to steal them, right? Because I'm a black man. Even in episode 2, I believe we have a moment with Patrice where they're hunting and it's just like, hey, I'm good enough to be in here and go through these books for purchase, but I'm not good enough to use your bathroom. Always treated as an other. So when he meets Emma, who he feels like may just be his person, he is so eager to embark in life with her. So endearing, so happy. They snatched it away real quick. Emma decides to go to Brazil and sit next to the creepiest old woman ever. Why, girl? When the people, the locals in any community say, you know what, hey, we don't go down that street, we don't go down that road, we don't go that way, we don't talk to that person in that house, I win anyway. Girl, why? Why would you do that? In the most ominous way possible, before Emma returns to Queens as well as Apollo, she ties this piece of red string around her wrist, stating that, you know, if you keep it on and it naturally falls off, all of your wishes will come true. But if you just so happen to remove it forcefully, cut it off yourself or anybody else, girl, damnation, pretty much. When I tell you I was yelling, especially with the both of them, yet another thing they have in common, being of mixed descent via their parents, I was like, that's the white side. That is the white side. Because the black side would not have even went over there and sat down. And the black side, the superstitious side, definitely would not have cut it off. Laughing, child, it was a whole kiki. I, God Apollo, will ensure that every single one of your wishes come true. We don't need this. Notice she said she had that bracelet on for 6 months. Yet hit the fan when that baby turns 6 months. Now, eventually, we are happier than ever. We are married and we are pregnant. Even though we are low-key financially strapped and struggling with the book sometimes being a hit or miss. I love when Apollo went in the restaurant like, yeah, I'll have the break. Bring me some water with lemon, because no, this is hella expensive. While we are looking forward to natural childbirth with our doula older sister, we also get informed of exactly what happened while she was in Brazil via her best friend, wanting to be happily married with a good husband and a baby. But we also get a whole moment that Apollo blatantly ignored. We met, a photographer. She wanted to be in an art gallery. Emma sets up this camera on a self-timer, strips down to nothing, takes the picture of herself. It's hanging in a gallery looking like a freaking evil sorceress situation. It scared the hell out of me. Yeah, so she was linking up with, did you not hear what I said? Why are we not stating where is the gallery? Where can I go see it? But even before that, we find out that this entire time, Apollo has been hanging on to the string. When I tell you I was yelling, tie it back on! Glue that sucker back together. I don't even know if that's possible to do anything, but I was just yelling, put it back on. He has been keeping it this entire time as a symbol of what he promised her. Before we go any further, she goes into labor. Desperately wanting to do it a natural way, we end up on the subway. Like, the subway scene to me was really symbolic of this baby coming in and just kind of being a symbol of chaos. Like, we have the dancer, beatbox, like they're coming in, guys coming in extra hella loud. The lights go out on the train, literally stopping in his tracks, leaving Apollo to deliver this baby on his own. Beautiful or not, it was also kind of symbolic of the start of Emma low-key not getting what she wanted. She wanted so badly to deliver that baby at home, and the baby, I'm coming now when I want to. And of course, we see the sign on the subway, when you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer superstition in a way. Ominous things are coming. Judging by the ending of that episode and what we saw of what was to come, I was like, oh my gosh, how long are we gonna take to get here? They didn't waste any time. Now in episode 2, then comes baby with the baby carriage. I was instantly hella distracted because we opened meeting Emma's sister, aka Amara Van, aka Ernestine from the Underground. When I tell you I was hyped, I was so hyped. I love her so much as an actress. I will die on the hill of Underground being renewed for a 3rd season. Now, in contrast to Emma, who also happily just delivered a baby last episode, we open with a distressed one as she walks to obtain a bag of chains. What is she planning to do with those? As your sister, if I hear you complaining about a baby, your husband, and you go get a bag of chains, I'm calling somebody. But like most of the show, we chaotically do not go in any specific order. We could be in any year at any time, depending on who we are talking about. But we see their home burning down to the ground. We also get a lot of references via the narration in this episode about sleep deprivation, what it can do to a person, tying into Emma and what she progresses to by the end of this episode. That in combination with the finances constantly being a little iffy, as well as Apollo continuing to have his very own recurring nightmare, everything isn't as great as it could be. But like most of the things here in this episode, you chalk it up to things that occur when you are a new parent. Anxiety, fatigue, stress. Everybody knows about the baby not latching on. Like, come on, it's right there. But even outside of that, we get more into the characters. Now, there is a lot of time spent with Lillian, Apollo's mother. We get to know a lot of her history, but the more and more we know about her, especially in current day with her older age, it seems like she knows something that we don't know. Even the little gestures of her, checking out Emma's boobs and, saying, oh, something is wrong with it, or her kind of toying with the fact that, oh, you named the baby Brian, which I absolutely did not understand. Why are we naming a baby after a father who left us? Explain that to me. Finding little ways in the nursery to commemorate Brian. I'm going to put this book here. My father left it to me. I'm going to read it to you. Now, I am thinking that this is Apollo desperately wanting some type of connection with his dad, with him having unresolved feelings as to why he just left, why I never heard from him, what happened with that. But we speak, real highly of a man who, as far as we know, walked away from us. But getting back into Lillian's ass, once we get into the request of a baptism for the baby, and she says, I believe he should be baptized to save him from the dark creatures of the world. Girl, just tell us what we need to do. This could have all maybe been avoidable. Like, save him from the dark creatures of the world. Now, of course, Emma and Apollo at that moment are not too fond of the baby being baptized. But we see Emma and Apollo progress from two parents who maybe need to get back to dating, having a little me time. Even Emma stating things like, nobody tells you the pressures of being, responsible for another human being. If something ever happened to my baby, that means something has to happen to me. Tired, while at the same time being stressed at the thought of leaving your baby for the first time, returning to work, being overly cautious. Child, when he put that throw pillow in there with the freaking car seat, driving hella slow, things seem to maybe be getting back to normal, even though we may not be sleeping. That's normal for first-time parents. Things slowly progress into Emma turning completely around. While Apollo is happy, being super dad, having that baby on his chest at all times, taking him to work as he, is book hunting, giving me heart palpitations, laying that baby on bare surfaces. Like, even though it wasn't bare and he put that blanket down, like, don't you have somewhere to change this baby? Like, just in the basement. It was a lot. But he is really enjoying fatherhood in the way that he always felt like he would. Emma is descending into what may look to be PTSD, starting to question her own sanity and what she perceives and looks at when she sees her baby that is having the time of his life in this budding, growing relationship with the father. But when it comes to me, I'm seeing something different. And it doesn't help that somebody or something is sending me photos from your phone by the car, in the park, from an angle that lets me know you're being watched by an outsider. But by the time I try to look at it and show it to you, it disappears. When I tell you, I was yelling, screenshot the damn photo! Screenshot it, girl, screenshot it. But there just doesn't seem to be enough time. So as we're getting happiness and jokester energy from Apollo's side, I love the interaction that he has with Patrice. Like, damn, you're really the friend with the baby. Did you have to bring the baby? Or that little bantering that they have with that person in the bookstore, some off looker with no kids, always trying to tell you what's healthy and what you should and shouldn't do with your own kids. How about you have a tall glass of shut the fuck up? Like, go over there. or even that moment of gleam and joy that he feels when he finally has an aspect to provide a life that he wants to for his family, finding To Kill a Mockingbird, signed by the original Arthur. Not stability from a limited edition. What exactly could go wrong here? Emma, that's what. Sleep deprived and appearing to look more and more withdrawn. When we have the moment of her trying to convey to Apollo what is going on, regardless if you saw the picture on my phone or not, I am verbally telling you what you were doing when you were doing it when I wasn't there. That's all you need to know. But he is kind of wrapped up in his own world of being a happy dad. Like, you are infringing on what we are supposed to be enjoying the most. Maybe, we need to get you some help, get you on some medication. Just kind of chalking it up to the woes of a new mom who needs to adjust. But I felt like he could have intervened and paid a little bit more attention to what she was saying before it was too late. Because by the time we kind of have the baby make a demonic sound, I don't know, with the editing in episode 2, we are supposed to see the baby just be oh so perfection with Apollo versus how he is solo dolo with Emma. I don't know if it was just me, but the baby was not coming off hella aggy to me. When you have those babies, it's just like, damn, I'm stressed out. It is just non-stop crying. It's just too much. You didn't really get a whole lot of that from the baby. We have that one moment where she just looks absolutely tired and the baby cries and she takes it as a personal, like, oh, you mother, like, oh, like, she starts to completely lose it to the point that she is cursing at the baby. I was like, oh, because we are not visually or verbally hearing whatever she is perceiving. I think that is intentional. With Emma feeling unnoticed, unheard, and I believe you also get this sense of replacement with him coddling and paying so much attention to the baby, opposed to how their relationship currently is. Emma being perceived as insane, not being safe to be left around the baby. She wasn't. As well as Apollo still trying to do the best that he can. You're sick. You probably are opting to get the baby an exorcism rather than a baptism. Go sit down. Go take a pill or something. You are not taking my baby along with you anywhere is the last straw. You don't see now, but you will see. Emma goes out. By the time she comes back in for episode 3, child, is the end of the end. Getting into episode 3, that is the main thing that is holding me back from the wise ones being positive entities. We had to be possessed for her to do what she needed to do to that baby. Like, if this baby was an extension of, something demonic or some nefarious fairies, like, the way that she came out and it was giving, touch me on the inside part and make me scream your name, she looked very, very beloved. She looked very beloved coming out of that room. And it's just like, if she was of sane mind and body and just so happened to know this isn't my baby, this is something else and nobody else is noticing, why would she have to be in a possession to kill this thing that isn't the baby? Now, if she was taken over by something else and this fairy entered her instead of Brian, that would more so make sense. I just don't know. But you have Apollo get up and he is chained from the neck all the way down to his lower body, begging, pleading, screaming for her to, whatever you do, do not harm the baby, doing his best to remind her of who they were, hoping that she would regain some form of sense and not kill the baby. They don't show us anything, and I'm just so ecstatic for that, because some shows do have a tendency to go a bit too far with the the steam coming out of that tea kettle, the way that she was handling and looking in the midst of that possession, abusing Apollo. That's all we need to see, child. We need to see nothing else. We don't know exactly what happened. We just cut to Apollo being released from jail. Now, I was so confused at that point because I thought he had done something to Emma. It wasn't until later, way after the fact, that I realized, oh, the whole scenario of him later looking for Emma in the library, waving around the shotgun distraught, is why he was arrested and placed on parole in the first place. I didn't get that right away. A lost, broken husband, father who no longer has a wife or a son. We are just really getting into trying to figure out exactly what happened, even though we eventually do find out that the baby Brian is supposedly dead and buried. Of course, he does not have it in him at this moment to go and visit the gravesite, going through, rightfully so, this deep, dark depression. We also find out that Emma's ass is just at large, disappeared off the face of the planet, and nobody can seem to find her. Sounds very familiar to the situation with Daddy Brian. The only information that we learn is that he was found by, I believe, a janitor. He kind of gives a description of what he saw and what he thought. Sounds gruesome. And we also find out, of course, that his mother was there the whole time by his side, trying to help him heal, get him a lawyer, as well as cleaning up the aftermath of the incident. Until that mother lets us know something real, she will continue to get the bombastic side eye from me. After it just pretty much looks like Apollo is giving away his most prized possession, outside of his family and the baby that he lost, the copy of To Kill a Mockingbird to Patrice, which was a signal to him that you are giving up, maybe considering harming yourself due to what's happened to you in your life. Was really touching to watch him try to reach his friend on the only mental level that he felt like he could via the love for books. Nice. Getting back into Lillian having the worst luck with men whatsoever. Like, we already saw the situation that occurred with her older brother. We saw the situation with Brian. We tried to start, a new life, new job, and we have this office manager being really forward with how he feels, wanting to take her out. When she objects his advances, he opts to make her work Saturdays, having her leave 4-year-old Apollo at home alone. My anxiety, my pressure was up here, like alone, the 80s, like not that it would have mattered to, child proof, but there was like zero precaution, just her struggling as that single mother, not having any family there and not really having any choice but to leave him. Like, oh my God, it just we know, of course, that nothing happened to him because we do see older Apollo, but just as a mother, that like, bye. I was, oh no thumbs up. Absolutely not, girl, don't leave. It's gotta be somebody not gonna do it, tell somebody something. But every single time that she walked out, just entrusting that he would be safe and he would be capable to handle it at 4, mentally weighs on you. There are so many little subtle ways here that they bring up just a mental state and how important it is to be honest, be heard, and be seen. Even when we have those little brief moments of a distraught Apollo being in this group therapy where he is supposed to vent, but the moment that he goes too far, it's just like, okay, meeting's over. He wants so badly just to express how he feels, receive something, some answer, some type of gratification, something other than, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, I'm so sorry for your loss, things that aren't helping me. Very reminiscent of Emma when she was reaching out and feeling like she was unheard. Or even Emma's mother being in the mental state that she was in, and the husband just kind of ignoring it as, you're losing it, you're crazy. But yeah, if I am, we should probably do something about it. Like, don't dismiss me. Is this not group? Let me vent. But getting back into Lillian, of course, wanting so badly to make sure that her son is okay. She is kind of in a roundabout way trying to tell him what's going on or what happened, but we are clearly only saying half of the situation. The whole recurring nightmare that you have had for the entirety of your life pretty much was not a nightmare at all, and it really happened. Even down to the last statement that Apollo says to his baby, no matter what, you are coming with me. Which of course is a trigger for Lillian, remembering that time that all the smoke in the world came from underneath the door and she had to maybe go in there and save her son. Or is that what it was? We really don't know. We ran in there and did something, and I'm like, the only thing that's in that bathroom is a tub of water. It's mentally, it's not really sounding all that good to me. But Lillian doesn't go as far, even though Apollo at this point is heated, child. He could have been, I don't care what job, he could have been there to watch me when I was in that house by myself at 4. It's just like, why did you divorce him? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Why didn't I ever see him again beyond, a certain point, dropping those things off at the door? The whole situation that I always thought was a nightmare. Child, if somebody ties some red string around you or Brian, somebody need to tell me that. Or if my father just so happened to have tried to drown me in the bathroom as a child and you had to rush in to save me or whatever happened, you need to just be honest. You know what? Hey, take this. This is where, your son is buried. You should go and visit him. Girl, what happened when you went inside the apartment? But we end off this episode with Apollo trying to go to group therapy, trying to fill that quota. But we just so happen to join a group that has yet another woman regurgitating the same stuff that Emma said. This is what's happening. This is what I'm seeing. She got a picture though. She got a picture and printed it out. This is the only proof that I have. This is the exact same scenario. Of course, this sets Apollo off. If this happens again, you guys can't say that you weren't warned. Running away from group and meeting the most sketchy buyer ever, claimed that he was sent by Patrice. All right. I don't know. There was just, something off about him to me. He seemed a little sketchy, even though he claims he is just there to get more detail about the To Kill a Mockingbird book. Where did you find it? How did you obtain it? We just so happened to record the woman who is stating the same things that Emma stated, leading Apollo to figure out that the wise ones are a group of witches. We're dealing with witches. Aha! Let me flash back to the moment that I made the worst mistake and cut that red string off of Emma's arm. Leaving Apollo at this point to feel like life is over, now have an agenda to figure out what's really going on and also figure out where the hell Emma is. I love the little arrow that is pointing in a certain direction as he is walking to this coffee shop with this stranger. And it says, To the Waters, the beginning title of that book that his father gave to him. Things are about to get so freaking interesting. I'm just really feeling like Emma was swapped out and that, she is behind, somebody's fairy fantasy walls. And it was, something that took her place that had her kill this baby who was actually little Brian. I don't know. And I really like the fact that I don't know. We're gonna find out together. Well, you guys, that was my review of the first 3 episodes of The Changeling. Please drop down and tell me what you think about the show and what you think about my review. What points did you make watching the show? Did I leave anything out? This is one of those situations where you kind of have to watch it a couple of times. It's a little divisive. Everybody might walk away with something different. So no 2 comments down there should be the same. I look so forward to reading them, getting you guys feedback, as well as getting into episode 4. It's getting hectic. I'll see you guys next time for my next review. Hit that like button. Bye.
Commissioner!